much do the two sides need one another strategically?
I think, geopolitically speaking, both need each other, and this is the historical reality. But at the moment, not only geopolitical, but also geoeconomical need is very important. Turkey had Russia as the first trade partner. In 2014, Turkey had $135 billion trade with Russia, from the energy to tourism, and Russia was #1. And Turkey has been #4 in Russian trade relations, and Turkey is the biggest consumer of Russian natural gas. The second point is, of course, that Putin and Tayyip Erdogan, they are both leaders who have been in recent years very much excluded, in quotation, by the West, and strongly criticized because of their tendencies to get more authoritarian structures of the states. And now these two leaders come together, and I think they will open a new chapter in the relations. And they realize today, that they need each other more than ever.
Dr. Aliriza, how strong a relationship could be when two men have a common enemy? How much will that make a friendship?
You know, with reference to the to the question that you asked first, I think it's Turkey that which needs the relationship to be to recover to its earlier position than Russia. And the fact that it was President Erdogan who sent a letter of apology at the end of June, and then has followed up by this visit to St. Petersburg, I think confirms that. Now, you talk about a common enemy. I assume you mean the West. Well, the reality is that Turkey is still very much part of the Western Alliance, NATO. President Erdogan participated in the Warsaw Summit recently, which took measures to counter Russian aggression in Ukraine and possible Russian aggression in Eastern Europe. And you know, Turkey continues to be an aspirant for EU membership, but you're absolutely right. There are strains in the relationship between Turkey and the EU, and Russia is taking advantage of this in order to weaken NATO. But they have differences, notably on Syria, that we may get into, which may limit the limits of the rapprochement.
Dr. Aliriza, you said something very interesting. You know, when we have things to do, we usually do a pro and a con list. So on the pro list for Turkey to getting closer to Russia, of course, there is the possibility of having more market, more energy, trade, as well as tourism, and also an option with an option besides the West. But on the con side, in a way, that would alienate Turkey from the rest of the West even further. So the question is, how much effort will Ankara make in this regard? Or is this pretty much a superficial gesture, just suggesting, see, I have another friend in Moscow?
Well, that's obviously a factor in Erdogan's calculations when he meets Putin. The fact that the meeting is taking place at all is significant in itself. The timing, coming, as your report said, within a few weeks of the failed coup, which exacerbated the tensions between Turkey and the West, it makes it even more significant. But, you know, whether they go beyond this, whether this moves beyond a tactical feint to a strategic reversal by Turkey is a matter of discussion. I don't think we're at that point yet. Now, Putin will undoubtedly take advantage of Erdogan's willingness to come to Moscow and to break with its Western allies, at least symbolically. But whether Turkey will go beyond this, and I don't know. Now, you mentioned the economic aspect of the relationship. Now, it's very significant that Russia never interrupted its supply of gas to Turkey throughout the months of tension since November. The trade relationship is heavily weighted in favor of the Russians because they supply most of Turkey's gas, almost 2/3. It's Turkey that really needs the economic relationship to recover because it's Turkish exports to Russia which suffered, and it's Turkish tourism revenues from Russian tourists that have suffered. So even on the economic front, it is really Turkey that is in need of the relationship much more than Russia.
One of the things, Professor Bagci, it's very important. That is, what do the two countries really want? What kind of countries they aspire to be? Your country, Turkey, and the country of Russia. Today, when we listened to Russian President Vladimir Putin during a welcoming ceremony for the Turkish President Erdogan, the Russian president was saying one thing that attracted a lot of attention. He said, when he was being quoted on Russia's gestures toward Turkey on the issue of the military coup, he said, "We are against any actions that are going against the Constitution." And yet, Professor Bagci, as we all know, President Erdogan is possibly working on the changes of the Constitution to enlarge the power of a presidency. So how should we understand the specific quote coming from the Russian president on this occasion to his Turkish counterpart, if I could use that word?
I think, first of all, the Turkish president is very much disappointed by the Western leaders who were not in the first line to call him and support him. It was one of the foreign presidents, Vladimir Putin, who called him, supported that he is definitely behind him and is against the coup. Now, President Erdogan is elected by the people, 52% got, and is definitely not a classical president as we used to have before. In theory, is having all the authorities according to 1982 Constitution, but he was de facto using a different type of presidential acts, presidential authority, which is probably now going to be much more stronger after this coup d'etat more, is now getting stronger and stronger and having more and more authority, which makes him, of course, number one man in Turkey, not the prime minister. And the parliament is, in this respect, getting weaker. So we move with this type of action now to have much more stronger political leader as president. But according to existing constitutional law, is violating the 1982 Constitution, which is valid, but in de facto, president has taken so many measures that he is now the strongest man in the country.
What do you make of it, Dr. Aliriza, briefly about all of these briefings coming from the Russian president? Are we seeing breakthrough?
Not yet. I mean, the easy part of the dialogue was obviously the re-establishment of close economic relations. Like I said, the energy relationship is continued. Now, what will happen is that Turkey will benefit from the lifting of the restrictions from the Russian side. Now, the fact that President Putin has said that they will be discussing the political problems seriously, differently or separately, excuse me, shows that those are much more difficult than the economic issues. And given the differences on Syria and other issues, we'll see how far they can go at this meeting or subsequent meetings that might lie ahead.
Professor Bagci, we are going back to the press conference, but 30 seconds for you to comment a bit about the earlier briefings coming from the Russian president. 30 seconds for you.
I think this is a very interesting statement by President Putin that he is going to establish the peer relations as before the shutdown of the plane. And I think it is like the car was moving, the train was getting out of the rail, and now it is again putting on the right way, and then it will continue. I think Turkey and Russia in the long run, they have to work together as before.
Professor Bagci, the president of Turkey is trying to use much more closer terms to describe the bilateral relations that the Russian president just now did. What do you make of this comparison, interestingly?
I think President's call for Vladimir Putin as my friend is very important after 9 months. The Turkish need for Russia in the long run in economic terms is out of question. And it seems that President is ready to open a new chapter in Turkish-Russian relations, making it much more wider in the long run. As you know, the Turkish-European Union relations at the moment is facing a great crisis.
And the president, yeah, we have talked about this already, but let me put on some new points over here. Professor Bagci, he was talking about the Turkish president one-on-one discussion with the Russian president, he said, on the other issues when it comes to international relations, including the issue of Syria. Can we expect any breakthrough as a result of that one-on-one? Usually, what would that mean? Briefly from you.
I think, President has stated this morning that Russia is the key player now for the peace process in Syria. It is first time that is said like this, and it is surprising to everyone, including myself. So I think there is a U-turn in Turkish foreign policy concerning the peace process in the Middle East and in Syria.
We are seeing a crossroad, it seems, Dr. Aliriza, that Turkey is right now in, which side to go and how close to get to Russia. And what about the issue of Syria? Is that compromisable as a result of the quote-unquote friend relations? As we all know, it is no starter for Russia to get rid of the president of Syria. They believe it's others' internal affairs, should not interfere into it. So briefly from you, what do you make of the comments coming from the Turkish president? Very briefly.
It's too early to say which way it's going to go in the bilateral discussions, because it was Syria that really led to the crisis between Turkey and Russia. They were okay before up to November, but the plane was shot down because the Russians were backing Assad through their air force. Now, if Turkey is willing to abandon its support for the opposition to President Assad and even accept the continuation of President Assad in office, then I think the Russians will be happy. But it will mean a major reversal in Turkish policy on Syria, and we're not at that point yet.